in Indianapolis. Another hot, muggy afternoon. But with the arrival last night of reigning Formula One champion Nigel Mansell, the Speedway was abuzz with Mansell mania. The Speedway's new barriers got their first real test today, not once, but 3 times. It's all next on the Countdown to Indy. Well, hello and welcome again to our garage at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as we continue the countdown to the qualifying for the running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race. And the speeds continued to climb today as well. This time it's an entirely new name at the top of the order, Raul Boesel at 224.4 miles an hour. But the big story of the day was the arrival of Nigel Mansell. The reigning Formula One World Champion's car was refueled and ready to go first thing in the morning. And Nigel Mansell himself was suited up and with his wife headed out toward the pit area to begin his driver's test, or what they call a rookie test at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Now, the crowd was there in droves. Everywhere Nigel went, there was a giant group of paparazzi. But finally, it was to the racetrack. Now, this looks pretty slow, but it's all part of warming up for a rookie test at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. A test that, by the way, Mansell complimented at the end of the day. 4 phases, 185 to 90, 190 to 195, 195 to 200, 200 to 205, and then a 5th phase observed by some veterans, including A.J. Foyt. The rookie test was passed, and then he was up to 222.8 miles an hour for 4th quick of the day. We asked him how awesome it was.
Try to come with an open mind to Indianapolis. It's very difficult because even from the air at 5,000 feet, when you fly about 5 miles away, you can see it. It is a very daunting and, in your language, a very awesome place.
Dale Coyne, the owner of the MyJack car, Robbie Buell, the driver, Buell, an Indy Lights champion, has been practicing about 215 miles an hour. This was just before he went out today. Maybe you saw that look of concern on Dale's face. Well, there was reason for it a few moments later, as down in the South Chute between turns 1 and 2, Robbie Buell almost head-on into the wall. Remember, we talked about how they have reconstructed the noses on these cars for greater safety? Well, this was the first real test because that was almost a 90-degree hit with the wall. Well, take a look at the nose of the car here as it comes in on the hook. The nose looks like it withstood the impact without any problem at all. The top is the 1992 car. There is the change in the 1993, more length, more bulkheads, more room. We asked Dale Coyne, now what are they going to do for Robbie?
We've got another car, a 92 Chevy car, that we'll get ready for him and see how he's probably going to have a headache tomorrow. But we'll get it ready and get him back out as soon as he's ready.
Buell suffered a concussion, should be back at the track tomorrow, though. This is Davy Jones. He brushes the wall on the exit of turn 1. That takes away brakes and steering, and so he rides the wall all the way into turn 2. Now, Davy Jones was not injured in this situation either. It was an accident, though, that got everybody's attention, the second one down at the first turn of this race course.
Well, it doesn't look that bad. It's mostly bolt-on stuff. It's rear wing, suspension parts, maybe some slight damage to the front pickup points. But we'll roll it back in the garage and get it ready as soon as possible and hopefully have it out Friday.
Well, we've been fighting a bit of push in turn 1. The last 3 days, it was turn 3 that was giving us a problem. And all of a sudden today, it's just the opposite roll. It's at the other end of the racetrack. It's turn 1 now that has been giving us some problems. And we thought we made a change to cure that over lunch, and we went back out, and you know, it just wasn't there.
So 2 in the turn 1 column thus far, and then it was this man, Ross Bentley, a Canadian from Vancouver, British Columbia, as he headed into turn 1. Same sort of problem, only he tried to correct it, lost it, came down across the new grass that has been planted here between the race course and the access road between the first and second turn. He can see what happens there when you lock up the brakes. And look what happens to the superintendent of grounds, Charlie Thompson's new grass. He may have Ross Bentley out helping him plant some new sod first thing in the morning. But Ross Bentley just barely up against the wall. And we ask him, Ross, what happened when you lost it down in the southwest corner?
Well, the car for a couple laps previous to that had kind of twitched a couple of times going into turn 1 and into turn 3, and this time it just twitched a little bit too far, and away we went for a little spin, and it was a lot of fun, actually.
This is the first turn, though, not even the racetrack. The pit access road for Olivier Gouliard, who lost it as he was trying to get out to the track. He did keep the engine going, and a somewhat embarrassed driver then powered it up and headed back into the pit area. The defending PPG Cup champion, Bobby Rahal, practicing nearly 214 miles an hour. Remember, this is a year-old car, originally a True Sports, now a Rahal Hogan, one they're working on, totally made in America. He's proud of that.
One thing is, everything we do only works on our car. Nobody can come by and see what we're doing and put it on theirs, which is sort of the, that's why everybody hides everything on a Lola. You're trying to keep every other Lola out there from being seen with the same thing. So it's, but it's a lot of work for us and a lot of responsibilities. But I think in the end, it's the way to go.
And Bobby Rahal thinks that he will have his brand new car out sometime in late June or early July, and then look out. Now, we know everybody has a favorite here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. There are 42 drivers currently practicing, so here is a list of all of the drivers, alphabetical order, and their best speed thus far this month of May. When the reigning world champion arrives at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, he brings with him a tremendous entourage of media, photographers, reporters speaking about every language you can imagine. The real tough thing is to get an interview, as our Sally Larvick reports.
You don't need a pit list to find Nigel Mansell here. All you need is to look for the car that has the most cameras and journalists surrounding it. Finding him was easy enough, but getting to actually talk to him was something else again. When we finally did get through, here are the first words the reigning world champion had to say about being at Indy. Can you just tell me how you feel?
Yeah, I feel very good.
Going to be good today?
I hope so. I mean, we've still got a lot of things to achieve, but yeah, I'm just happy to be here.
Great, and we're glad to have you here,
Thank
too.
you.
Good luck.
All right, thanks.
Let's see, that was a 10-second soundbite, as we call it in the business. Looked simple enough to acquire, didn't it? Think so? Well, let's take a look at what we actually had to do to get it.
All I can tell you is, wait until after he runs and let's see what happens.
You mean after he runs today? Or,
yeah. I mean, that's what I say. I got to run right now and get him.
Keep in mind now that Michael is doing his job. He's got over 100 of us bugging him. Okay, and if we do afterwards, where would be a good place to catch him?
I can't even tell you right now, Sally. All I know is the intention is for him to put as many laps in today as possible.
Okay, but I wanted to be the first to get Nigel before he went out, so desperate times calls for desperate measures. There he is, Brad. We were off, and so was he, all around the garage area. And just when we thought we were going to spend the rest of the morning running after Nigel's cart, our luck changed. The cart stopped. It was now or never. Nigel? And that's how it happened. It took us actually about an hour to get 10 seconds worth of sound. But you really can't blame Mansell or his handlers for this media circus go-round. After all he really wants to do is take his rookie test, qualify his car, and get out of here so he can rest his back. But at the same time, we the media know it's important for you, the public, to hear what Nigel Mansell has to say, isn't it? Do you know who Nigel Mansell is?
No, I don't.
It'll definitely be interesting to hear his comments.
Yeah, I like his accent and everything.
So we'll all keep trying, all 200 or more of us, to get that 10-second soundbite, no matter how long it takes. Sorry, Nigel, you've made a real comeback from your Phoenix crash, and we want everybody to know about it.
Well, speaking of great comebacks and great stories, here in our garage today we have two terrific race drivers. Nelson Piquet, former world champion. We'll talk a little bit about his time last year. And, of course, Gary Bentonhausen, who there's a whole group of us out here at the Speedway that are going to go crazy when he scores his first Indianapolis 500-mile race win. But, Nelson, let's start with you. The accident last year, do you have now even any greater clue as to what happened?
No, I don't have any idea. Actually, after the accident, I forgot 1 day before and 4 days after.
That's probably a good way to do it.
Yeah.
Then you come this year, and you had a spin the other day, but it looked like you got her to the left and locked her up pretty quick. What happened out there?
Well, I have this, maybe the same thing happened last year, but I just touched the wall and I slide sideways about 400 yards and didn't have a big impact and didn't hurt anything.
When you were starting to spin this time, did you think, oh no, here it is again, or did you know the nature of what was happening to you this time?
Well, this time I knew what happened, and we had a problem all morning with the car, and we tried to fix the problem. We didn't, and but it was very different from last year. Last year we were testing completely different things. We were testing engine. The car was very good. We had a lot of more downforce than this year. The car was much easier to drive last year. And, anyway, we don't have much time to think. When you start to spin and it's fraction of a second, that's it.
I don't know Jaeger or Gary or anybody that's been around you the past year that hasn't just been totally complimentary of how hard you've worked to come back. But it's not been an easy time. Still, you worked very hard to get physically back.
Well, it's not really true. I think what they done with me here was fantastic. And when I left here in September and I started to walk normally, of course I cannot have a complete normal life. I cannot do sports and things like that. But the rest of everything's going fine. And 3 months ago, when I did the deal again with John Menard, I started to race go-kart 3 times a week, you know, and 1 hour.
And that helps?
Oh yeah, keep you very much in shape, and it's very good.
I know, Gary, you've got to be very happy to see him back. I know you were real high on his praise last year.
Well, this guy, everybody that's met this guy in the last year, takes about 5 minutes before you decide you love the guy. You know, you like him right off the bat, but then it goes deeper than that.
Now, you're running Buick Power, both cars. We're talking a program that's development has ended as far as Buick is concerned, but you still feel very strong on the motor.
Well, yes. To be truthful, we don't have any choice. If you don't run the entire circuit all year long, you have no choice but to run a Buick if you want to be competitive here at Indianapolis. So John Menard has decided we will go on with the program, and probably in the future we'll be doing our own development work on the engine and try to make it better. Actually, we've got the same horsepower that we had 3 years ago. So
is this motor the monster power that everybody makes it out to be?
No, I wish it was. This goes back to maybe 4 or 5 years ago, yet when the Buick did have an advantage. But if you look at the straightaway speeds for the last 2 years, the Ford is beating us consistently, and now the new Chevrolet, they're fast, and it's going to be a lot more difficult to set on the pole than it was in 1991 for me.
But still, you know the motor can finish, and you could win an Indy 500.
Yes, we've got the dependability now. We've probably actually taken a little horsepower away from the engine in the last year or so to get the dependability. We had no problem whatsoever with the engines last year. In fact, we ran a total of almost 5,000 miles during the month of May last year with all 4 cars and never had an engine failure.
Nelson, Gary points out, as does many others, that you're an absolute racer. But I got to ask you, I mean, you're a legend in your home country. You're a national hero. You're a 3-time world champion. You've got money. You got a great-looking woman. Why are you here doing this?
Wow, that's a good question. You see, when I finished Formula One, and I said, well, the only thing I want to do is participate to Indy 500. I'm not interested to do Indy Series or things like that. And I came here last year. I was lucky to have a teammate, Gary, and he gave me a good hand, and I was very comfortable until the thing happened. And well, I spent here 4 or 5 months and think about what happened, and I never took the idea don't finish the race. I would like to finish the race.
So now it's a job that you must have?
Yeah, I would like to do it. I still I have a big problem in Brazil now because I'm getting inside a very big business there. And I stopped for this whole month to come here and do this race, but I don't know. It's something that I want to do, and I cannot let pass.
Let me tell you, we are all a lot richer for the fact that you're here. It's Team Menard, Nelson Piquet, Gary Bentonhausen. Keep an eye on these guys. We'll be back with more as the Countdown to Indy continues.
In association.
A couple of years ago, I got to test the Porsche Indy car, and when we'd get above 185 miles an hour, the helmet would try to pull you out of the cockpit. That's because the helmet is part of the car's aerodynamic package. Here's a further update from Mike King.
Technological advancements have long been a part of the Indy 500, but not all of them have been confined to the cars. Helmet technology has come a long way in just the last 10 years. The racing helmets of 1993 are made of Kevlar and carbon fiber. But before they get to this point, they have to go through a rigorous manufacturing process. Then comes the time that they tweak them out for specific drivers. Simpson helmets are made here in Indianapolis, with Bell helmets constructed at their Rantoul, Illinois facility. Craftsmen turn high-tech, space-age composites into the safest racing headwear in the world.
When someone is protecting their head in a risky situation like auto racing, you want to have the most viable, most proved, tested, best engineered product on your head, because you only get one chance sometimes.
Of course, the primary purpose of any helmet is to protect the driver. But here in Indianapolis, when a driver straps on a helmet, more than safety is the concern. Because here at Indianapolis, with the open cockpit, the helmet becomes part of a car's aerodynamic package. And that accounts for all of the varying helmet designs and shapes you'll see this year at Indy. Finding that perfect marriage between car and helmet design also makes for one very important factor: increased speed.
It used to be that, you know, a bulbous shape was good. Now they're needle nose, you know, everything's getting different. So it's all changing, and they've come a long way in what they've discovered in the wind tunnels and everything else.
Simpson has come out with a different design for this year, but I'm still using the old type. But tomorrow I'll use the new type, and hopefully I can cut down a little bit on the buffeting. Because when you buffet a lot and you hear all this wind around your head, it sometimes gives you a different sense of what really is going on with the car. It overpowers the feelings that you have for the car.
Helmet technology, making the 500 faster and safer. For Countdown to Indy, I'm Mike King.
Can you imagine that, running 224 miles an hour and being knocked back and forth by the wind? Now, you saw Danny Sullivan there. There are some people that say that his win at Indy was the best ever. 1985. Danny Sullivan started 8th, but quickly dropped back. At one point, he's just inches away from being lapped. Sullivan patiently worked his way to the front of the pack to challenge for the lead. Then, on lap 120, attempting to pass frontrunner Mario Andretti, Sullivan spun, while Andretti narrowly avoided the spinning machine in front of him. Miraculously, Sullivan regained control and stopped for fresh tires under the yellow his spin had created. Ironically, Sullivan's daring move was the result of a mix-up between Danny and crew chief Derek Walker.
I radioed to Derek and said, how many laps to go? Because it gives you an idea, well, how hard do I press? Do I just follow Mario for a while? Do I wait? And I thought he said, 19 laps or something like that. And I couldn't read the pit board, so I thought, boy, there's not a lot of time left. And Mario's a tough guy to pass. And Mario just came down, to try to close the door, but I was side by side, so I just went with him. But he carried me all the way down onto the apron, below the line, almost to the grass. I'm not saying I wouldn't have done the same thing. I mean, he didn't want to give up that lead, and he was going to say, boy, if you want this thing, you're going to have to work for it.
Narrowly avoiding a first-turn accident on the restart, Sullivan caught Andretti 20 laps later, en route to his first Indianapolis 500 victory. Without a doubt, Danny Sullivan's spin-to-win victory in the 1985 race ranks as one of Indy's greatest moments. Now news and notes from Gasoline Alley. You know, we don't mention his name nearly enough. So Raul Boisel, once again, 224.4 miles an hour. Fastest speed thus far of the month, and proving the Dick Simon team is without question a real threat. Now, what do you think temperatures do to the cars and their practice and the speeds? Well, John Travis at Kenny Bernstein's team says that they lost almost 150 pounds of downforce when the temperatures went up this week. They had to work very hard to get all of that downforce back into the package so they could get up to speed, and they're moving back up quickly. Now, besides the change in the track, there are some other changes at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. One of them is some new towers. Take a look at that. Because the new NASCAR fences are so high, the TV platforms had to be relocated, some of them 80 feet in the air, all on the inside to give this kind of view at the Speedway. And then the ongoing saga of Ayrton Senna. Is this Senna? Senna coming to the track? Hey, all the little race fans think so. Some of the big did as well. All up and down the pits, they said, Ayrton Senna's at the Speedway. Now, this is just Mike King, another one of the great Speedway jokes. We'll see you tomorrow night on the Countdown to Indy.